This podcast is brought to you by Gorillaware, Malta.
Okay, well, here we are for the Wellness Warrior podcast, number 10. So we are advancing in our abilities to reach out to people and share our unique version of health and wellness. As we are going on in this podcast, we're always trying to bring great topics, good information, trying to provide knowledge and wisdom and everything that has to do with health and wellness. And every so often, we'll try to bring on a guest that we feel is helpful in getting people more aware of themselves and their own power and their ability. And today, I'm really happy to bring on a guest. I've known this person for well over 20 years. We've had a professional relationship. She's into fitness as myself, bodybuilding. She's also into health and wellness. I'm going to talk about that in half a second. So we've got a very diverse history. She's a fantastic woman, someone who I'm always been very proud to know, and has always had amazing insights. And in the world that we're living in now, it's good to find people who have a good heart with great empathy and desire to see people be their best. So I'm going to share a little bit of information. And my guest today is Ocean Bloom. And Ocean is an internationally renowned bodywork therapist, wellness coach, and a retreat leader. She has over 25 years of experience as a fitness world champion, a celebrity personal trainer, and certified yoga teacher. Ocean has worked and studied extensively across Southeast Asia and Europe. Her pioneering approach combines fitness modalities with ancient practices from yoga, Chinese, and Thai medicine, facilitating a holistic return to health, physically, mentally, and spiritually. As the founder and facilitator of conscious movement therapy, Ocean has guided a diverse range of individuals from high-profile celebrities and athletes to first responders and trauma survivors, helping them release emotional blockages and to reset their thinking. So without much ado, I'd like everyone to say hello to Ocean. Ocean, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you. Live from Thailand, from
Yeah, you're
Phuket,
in Thailand
Thailand.
and I'm in Malta.
Mm.
And we both
Hmm.
both started out in Vancouver,
Yeah, which
right?
is a very cold and wet place right now. A beautiful city in the summer, but moving into a colder season. So I think you and I both enjoy the heat.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. Like when I've been, with my business, I've traveled, and my first place after really leaving Vancouver was Palm Springs. And people in Palm Springs, it's like so hot down there. It's over 40, always sunshine. Maybe 1 inch of rain per year. And they would say to me, "What brings you down here?" Because for them, living in that atmosphere, desert, it's like it's so hot. Why would you want to be here? And I said, "Well, I lived in Vancouver for over 40 years. I'm waterlogged. I need to dry out somewhere." So, and Malta is
Yeah.
exactly the same thing. It's just so hot. It very rarely rains except in the wintertime, and it's not a lot. So, yeah, but I need the sun. I need that vitamin in my body to just kind of feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
anyway,
Okay.
I guess, well, first of all, I want to ask you a question. Well, not
Mm.
for me so much, but for everyone. Your name, it's so, knowing you, and knowing who you are, to say your name is Ocean Bloom. I mean, it just sort of transcends this lifestyle, this choice of life that you're living, this what you practice and what you preach. I mean, can you just tell us a little bit about ocean bloom? Like, how does that work?
Well, yeah, that does definitely come from hippie parents. And my first name actually is Adriel, and Ocean's my middle name. And Adriel's from Lord of the Rings, but I've always gone by Ocean. I almost got the middle name Breeze. I'm glad that that wasn't added on. Ocean Bloom works for me. And yeah, so that's actually my full name, but I've always gone by Ocean.
Yeah,
And it really is the essence of who I am. I feel the most grounded when I'm near the ocean. So I always travel to countries where I'm close. And right now, where I live, I'm 3 minutes from the ocean. Mm.
oh, I mean, it's kind of like divine intervention. I mean, when you're when you got, that name, I mean, it's sort of like foreshadowed your future, I think, don't you think, when you look back at your life now and the kind of path that you've chosen to lead?
I don't know that I chose my path. I think it was chosen for me in reality. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, you have
yes,
choice. You
yes,
do. Yes.
yes.
I agree with that. I
You-
do. But I mean, you
we
have
have
choice.
choice, but I mean, this is everything that I stand for today. It's like you can choose to go in one direction, but if you're meant to be doing something else, if your higher purpose, if your gift is to help or be of service in some other way, then no matter what you think or what direction you choose, you may end up doing something else and you don't know why at the time. So yes, I mean, I did make a conscious choice to move to Thailand and not to California, which has wonderful weather and beautiful oceans. And people think I'm often from California. So yeah, that was definitely a choice. Yeah.
So in the bio, I kind of said a little bit about yourself and what you do, but why don't you just kind of, for a person who doesn't really even understand this kind of lifestyle, what is it that you do?
This kind of, what do you mean by this kind of lifestyle? You mean
Well,
living in
because
other
it's
countries?
different. I mean, well, like
Yeah.
with health and wellness, there's so many triggers to health and wellness. I mean, there's obviously, like you spoke about, like there's the physiology, the nutrition, there's the psychology, there's the spirituality. I
Yeah.
mean, there's a whole lot of aspects to this genre of life. But yours
Yes.
seems to be a little bit unique, and what you do is very, very special. And I want people to get a full sort of taste of what it is that you do and how they could benefit from actually, being around you and your services.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I spent years and we spent years in the industry of fitness and bodybuilding. And so what appeared to be physical health was having a really fit body, having abs, being able to train regularly. And in my case, as a competitive fitness athlete, so doing gymnastics and doing these extreme competitions where you're judged. And so how your physique looks and performs is to some degree a status of how successful you are. And so I competed professionally for 14 years. And then during that time, because of my competition, I got into yoga, into participating in yoga, and that opened a lot of new mental doorways for me into different ways of connecting to the body. And that was the probably one of the first big shifts in my life. And then, understanding the body from the inside versus the outside. And then um, living in Vancouver and being in the film industry, I um, had friends. I lost quite a few friends in 2010. Um, Friends of mine OD'd. I had a friend that got lung cancer, and that really rocked my world. And my friend, I talk about this in a lot of the different interviews I've done because it was such a turning point for me that I really identified up until that point with the external body, and it was all about performance and how do we look. And then when my friend got lung cancer and two brain tumors and couldn't function normally on her own and really lost independence, it was such a smack in the face for me of, I don't know why the word ignorance came up, but I just realized like, wow, I'm really taking things for granted. And yes, I'm in these magazines and I'm on TV as this picture of health, But if that were to be taken away from me, if my fitness were to be taken away, if my body was to be taken away from me, do I have a sense of who I am as a person? And I realized living in North America also that everyone around me was identifying with how they look or what they have: a nice home, a nice body, a good looking partner. And that became the sense of identity. And I also watched other people lose their jobs and then go, oh my goodness, I don't work for this big company anymore, so who am I now? And it was a lot sort of put in my face at one time. And in this case, it was a life or death situation with my friend, that she was terminally ill. And so that's when I was already involved in yoga and meditation and practices to keep my own body healthy. However, that just took my awareness to a new level of wanting to understand, for if this body is our vehicle that we have to journey through the rest of our life in, um, and we can only ever take with us that which we can carry. What are we carrying? And who am I? And who am I if I don't identify with the body? And if I'm not in shape, or I have one leg, And so that's what became then my catalyst to travel, to study. And, I had so many wild experiences along the way. And I'm so grateful for these experiences and the people that I met and the losses and the death, like what that did to me. And from that, it's just been my absolute purpose and passion to share what I've experienced and understand how to hold space for people. And the most important word to me is safety. And up until I came to study in Thailand in 2010, I didn't have a reference point for the word safety. That's a whole other thing we can go into with the work that I do, and talking about what I learned in the training. But yeah, that's my real passion now, is to help people feel safe, because I have learned a lot and I do have a lot of tools after living in Asia since 2011 now.
Well, yeah. It's
That's a
amazing
lot.
what experiences or adversities, where they lead us to, how they bring us to this point. So, I mean, I think everyone can relate to that. I mean, I think even my own life, I've had tons of adversity that has happened that starts to reshape the way you think, because even, I mean, like you said, we have this history in bodybuilding and stuff like that. And I remember there was a very specific moment where I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, when my life is coming to the end and I look at the tapestry of my life, do I just want to say, John was a bodybuilder and that's it? You know what I mean? Like, is that it? Is that all I have to offer? And it was sort of then that I wanted to make, a difference and start to do other things, not just within the physical self, but obviously I want to do other endeavors, sport endeavors. I wanted to reach people. I wanted to write books. I wanted to share my experiences. I didn't want to be proud and kind of walk around with ego and present an image that was not necessarily the truth. You know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
I just wanted to be my authentic self, and I think it is the adversities that I had gone through in my own self that brought me to that point. And I'm not sure that I think that happens for everyone at different times. Wouldn't you agree? Like, I mean, I don't think this is something that everyone by the time they're 25 says, okay, I need to learn about myself or find myself, or maybe some people don't even find themselves at all. But I think it's certainly a monumental experience to get to a point where you look within yourself and try to find some
Mhm.
true value, and we have a
And I
purpose.
have to say, and I'm like even emotional with it, like I'm glad you're here today, because I remember I can't believe it. I just remember like seeing your post, and like I know that you were in a life or death situation and that any moment you could be gone. And in the last 5 months, in the last 6 months, I know 5 people that have passed away. And so we can't take anything for granted, and this goes for everyone. When I share that, I don't want anyone to say, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. No, that's life. That's what's going to happen. And it's a reminder. Let us be grateful. We have this right now. How can I experience happiness, joy, or be of service or have a deep connection right now, because you don't know if you're going to have tomorrow or an opportunity to be with someone or say goodbye to them. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here today.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
So obviously, this, I'm sure there's a lot of meaning here, obviously, for you. I'm just curious of what holds the most meaning for you, like who are you, your core values, what's driving you to this place, this point in time right now?
What is most meaningful to me, and that's a great question, is having a calm nervous system, having peace,
Yeah.
feeling safe, right? And as I said, safety is what's most important to me. I grew up in an environment where I didn't feel safe. I didn't understand the context of what that means. I shouldn't say I don't know. I just know that in my upbringing, wasn't in school taught how to have emotional regulation and how to deal with stress or overwhelm. I was raised by a single parent who did the best that she could, but we need to be raised by a tribe. We need a whole family. We need aunts and uncles and brothers and sisters and wisdom. And so when you grow up alone or you're um, in somewhat of a dysfunctional or broken family, it means you have to raise yourself. And I'm still learning, and I really feel like a child some days. And in a way, that's a beautiful thing, because, and I have young friends even, they're like, oh my God, you're like a kid when you see animals or butterflies, or like, whoo, yeah, I have this enthusiasm of a child. And also from the challenges and the struggles, I have a lot of wisdom. And so coming back to that, what's most meaningful is to, at this point in my life, really understand and create a safe environment to recognize when I'm having anxiety or overwhelm, that I do have the tools to regulate myself, and that sometimes means, and literally, as I did, leaving the country that I was in, um, not going to the supermarket. It means saying no to things because I'm at capacity. And so this is something I'm talking about a lot right now, and helping people to understand is that often what we're good at is not what's good for us. And we go on autopilot, or we watch other people that we think are successful, and they're just like, they don't sleep, they don't eat, they're what's the saying? It's like, I don't know, if you have to work hard, right? Push, punish. So I'm trying to destruct some of what I have subconsciously learned is success, and come back to the most raw, real, how do I feel in this moment? And does it feel good on any level? The relationship with anyone, is it serving me? Why am I doing it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Calm is strong. That's my thing. We could have big muscles, but if we don't have a calm nervous system, we are weak. And so when I ask people, how are you feeling? Often people say, oh, I feel really physically strong, but I feel emotionally weak. Or you might feel emotionally, energetically strong, but your physical body feels weak. And so understanding what is strength, what does it mean to feel calm, to feel safe, to feel creative? How can you be creative or inspired if you don't feel safe? How can you be clear in your mind if you have pain in your physical body? Like if your body can't relax, then that's a balance.
yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that as well, because when you're not in tune with yourself, and sort of centered in your best your best self, it's very difficult to execute and do good things. I mean, it's like that saying, like, if you want others to love you, you have to first love yourself. If you really want to help other people, or be able to be in a position to inspire, or to lead
I was
people. Go ahead.
sorry, that is funny, because before we started this talk, I was thinking about that statement of it, because it goes around so often of, oh, well, you have to love yourself. But that's really a tricky one, because for a lot of people, they don't know how. And so I don't think that you can just tell someone, just love yourself first. Well, how do you do that? Right? We have to learn that. And sometimes that does mean separate yourself from the people that you have been around because they're not actually healthy for you. Find an environment that's more loving. And it's through these different practices that we learn what does that mean to, if I hate my body, I'm not just all of a sudden going to go, okay, you look great. It's like understanding what does that mean and what are the tools that I can use and practice in order to learn how to love myself.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I guess only from my own experience, and I've worked with thousands of people as well, and you get to a point where people, or from my experience, they don't even take the time to look within themselves. They're so busy focused on their families. If it's a woman, for example, she's focused on her husband, focused on her children, taking care of her parents if she needs to, take care of the household, multitasking, all these different things. Wakes up one day, looks at herself in the mirror at 40 years old and says, who am I?
Who's
And
that?
didn't I at one point have a dream? Didn't I want to do something?
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that don't even get to that point, so I see that. And it's true, like it's a blanket statement. You got to love yourself first before you can love others, and so on and so forth, or let others love you, But yeah, it's work. I mean, to
And
find in
scary.
yourself that power, it takes work. You can't ignore yourself for all these years and then expect to wake up one day and, like you said, be in love with who you are. But I mean, from my perspective, people are they, when you look at going with that example, when you look at parents, they'll, for the most part, a good parent for sure will always say the good things to their children. You're beautiful, you're great, you're amazing, you can do this, you can do that. And they love their children unconditionally. It's sort of like it's like a gift that's just given to parents, for their children. But yet they look at themselves in the mirror and they say everything opposite of that. They don't have unconditional love for themselves. They don't respect themselves. They don't have self-value of themselves. They don't, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with the fact that they haven't been taught to. They haven't been taught to look within themselves. They've been told by all of society that your job is to take care of the next generation, but you can't really do that if you don't take care of yourself first, I think. I mean, prime example, and I'm going to shut up because I talk a lot, but prime example is when you're in a plane, and something happens and the oxygen masks come down. They always say, put that on your mouth first. You take care of you first, because you're no good to anyone else if you're no good to yourself. And I think that's a part of what you're talking about, no?
100%. And that's why I was using the word capacity. I had this experience when I was just in Vancouver, actually, on two different occasions where I repeated myself. I kept asking my friends, are we going to do this at this time? Are we good with this? I'd let some time go by. Then I might ask again. And I actually triggered them. They got pissed off. And they said, why do you keep asking me the same question? And I said, because it's not to annoy you, but I'm really curious. Just because we say we're able to do something in 1 minute and we make the commitment we want to, the next day or 5 hours later, we might not have the actual capacity, right? It's like you've spent all the money in the bank for the day, you're over budget. And I'm finding with myself as well that I go over capacity, try to do too much. And people say yes. They're not taking care of themselves. So they're saying yes to you. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this, but they're not tending to their own needs. So when I ask, like, I might ask you a question now, and I'm going to ask you in 5 hours, like, what's your capacity now? So now I reword it of like, in this moment, where are you at? Do you have the capacity to show up, to be present? But on a daily, that's the thing to myself. It's like, even if I want to go to that event or I want to, it's a beautiful day and I want to go out, I ask, do I have the capacity to even be in public today? And some days the capacity is higher. So I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling it. I can go out there.
So I guess you're probably dealing with a lot of people that are dealing with trauma. I suspect, because I think well, I
That's
think
what I
it's a
love.
fair statement that most people are dealing with trauma to some degree, so how do you understand trauma and its impact? What, again, in relationship to you and your experiences, how do you see that?
Well, I feel like every experience we have is stored in our body. It impacts us, whether it's exciting or it was scary, frightening, terrifying. And in many moments, we don't have the tools to, or it's not okay to scream or to cry or to feel. And so, we just swallow those feelings or ignore them or become distracted. And then over time, our bodies are so full, so heavy that even if some amazing person or job opportunity or something wonderful comes forward, there's no capacity, there's no space to receive that because our bodies are tight, they're in pain, we're sad, grieving, maybe not expressing it. So, I mean, you can tell that by someone's energy and the way that they're speaking, the way that they're moving, the way that they withdraw. Maybe they tend to implode or they explode. And I had the opportunity to really have like an internship when I moved to Thailand, and I was working at Tiger Muay Thai, and I had a lot of guys that were coming from Afghanistan. Soldiers were coming right from being in battle to integrating back into society, but they're at this fitness camp because you want to be strong and you want to be around other people. And so I really witnessed firsthand what intense trauma can look like in people. And then, many different levels of trauma within my own nervous system and body. And I realize if I'm going to go on and like, what is happiness? And if I'm not feeling happiness, why? Well, because I'm feeling sadness. Well, why am I feeling sadness? Oh, because that thing keeps coming up. So, I can read it in people's body language, which is why what I do now, which is called conscious movement therapy, is a nonverbal form of emotional release, because I really believe, we can tell a story to someone else, to a therapist, to a friend, that's a story or a construct that we've created in our mind to stay safe, to survive, but it might not actually be the truth. And the body doesn't lie, like it just doesn't.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree with that a lot, actually, because it's interesting because someone will say their brand of truth, but it's like going through these filters, of
Mhm.
whatever self-protection, ego, or whatever the case is, and they're presenting an image, and even though they're trying to be authentic, it's skewed. There's some sort of self-protection mechanisms that they have inside that is not allowing them to just completely give in, I guess, to being that susceptible. But um, it's
And I think
interesting.
that all often comes again to safety. I mean,
Yeah,
not to be crude, but you could equate it to having to go to the toilet. It's like that's when you when you're going to the toilet, that's a vulnerable thing, right? And if you're like really having to go and you're in like I don't know, a shopping mall and there's lots of people and there's a lineup, and in that moment, it's like, do you really want to go in the shopping mall? Because maybe you need some privacy, or maybe you're sick and you need to throw up, but you don't want to be surrounded by other people, right? So you're just holding on to that. You need to have this release, and in this case, also like an emotional release where there's like some pent up stuff, but a lot of people don't know, and that's why I included myself in that. Is in saying before, I didn't know what a safe place was. So if you ask me, oh well, like here, like just open up, like what's bothering you? What's the worst thing that ever happened to you? I might not have the awareness or feel like, well, I can just do that.
which is amazing, really. Like, I mean, it's us, it's us. It's like when I ask someone a question, like, well, why are you feeling this, or what's going on in you? And the first response I hear is, well, I don't know. And I go, well, but how don't you know? It's you. Like, it's you. If anyone should know, it should be you. But it
Mhm.
just goes to show you that even with self, people have disconnected themselves from themselves in a lot of cases, right? So they're not in a position to look within and be able to articulate what it is that they're feeling. And, like I prided myself on doing that exact thing from a very early age. I grew up very, very quickly. I've had lots of trauma in my life, like you. Uh, and I distinctly remember this sort of swing that would happen. You go to bed at night, maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, the TV's off, the lights are out, and you have this whatever moments of consciousness, which, and you have nothing but just self-analyzing. I need to do this better. I need to do that better. Why am I doing this? I need to go down this path. So this is sort of like this awareness. And then you wake up the next morning and it's like, oh crap, I'm half hour late, and you're already running out the door. You haven't eaten a meal, and you don't come back to that thought you had the night before for like a week, so it's very difficult to stay on top of who you are sometimes because life gets so busy. You have to, in my opinion, you have to make that a conscious exercise to go within yourself and try to be present and pay attention to those feelings, those things that you're dealing with. So,
ask yourself the right questions, right? Which you've asked me already. What is most meaningful to you right now? What do you have the capacity for?
Yeah.
Death is a good one. And like in that, sometimes I even just think like, why should I even be stressed? Because I could just die tomorrow. I've seen it happen so many times, and I watch people that the worst thing you could ask me is like, what is your 5-year plan? And I think, oh my God, like, I don't know what I'm eating for dinner. My plan would be like, I want to feel healthy and happy. That means I'm out doing things. I'm enjoying life, but I catch myself because it is programming to be like, do more, go faster, achieve, but that's actually the opposite of feeling calm. And so those questions, what is most meaningful and what is your capacity? That will help you not go so fast.
Yeah, I am. I get that. I think after last year, as you know, like 15 months ago, I had open heart surgery, and I always saw myself. A matter of fact, still, I will still tell you, I still feel invincible, but I always had this strange feeling of invincibility. I don't know. I remember, I'm going to go off a little bit. I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in a very abusive home, and I was being beat. I was being beat over the head with a brush, and I was like about 8 before I was going to school, and I was slumped between the toilet and the wall, and she was cracking me over the head. And I remember in that moment, I got this vision of myself as Superman, and I did at that moment. Nothing hurt me, it didn't hurt at all. I actually had to fake cry just so she would stop. But anyway, I lost my train of thought there.
But this is beautiful, and it's also why I got into fitness and bodybuilding, right? It's like, and maybe there's a similar thread, and that's why we understood each other. I was like, my God, life is really hard, and nobody's coming to save me or protect me, and so I'm going to make myself strong so that no one messes with me. And so I built that body. I am going to be invincible. And I remember watching cartoons, and thank God I found spirituality through He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
like it might sound funny, but it's like what a spiritual cartoon that was, because the whole essence, there was a mantra. It said, by the power of love and the power above, I have the power. By the power of the universe, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power. And there was this beam of light called Light Hope, and the female, He-Man's sister She-Ra would go into this castle, and she'd go into this dark room, and there wasn't even a physical body. There was just this voice that came out with these colors that came out of the earth, like the chakras. And the voice said, I know you're a mortal person, but if you hold up your sword and you ask for strength, I'm going to give you strength. And the same was for He-Man, right? It's like, yeah, I'm only a human being, but if I ask for divine power and strength, then I get so much power beaming down into me that I can go help people that are suffering, and it just happened that He-Man had super great muscles and body. And so did Shira. And I thought, without having religion forced upon me, I thought, what a beautiful way of looking at life. And I felt like I resonate with this woman. She's like, who am I to go help people? Like I'm just a human, but you have to draw on source. And if you have that strength, like you were doing there as a child, like I'm not going to wait for a parent or someone to come save me. I am going to be my savior, and I'm going to find that strength, and you can't hurt me anymore.
Yeah. No,
Mm.
it's true. And that's what I was going to say. Just like that sort of feeling, was what got me through the open heart surgery. And it got me through, almost dying 6 days later in the Airbnb that I was at. And it's got me through the last 15 months, and then the bike accident and all these things, and all of these things that can take a person out.
Yeah.
Life has that way of throwing that kind of stuff at us, but there has to be something very intrinsic and deep within us that gives us a reason to fight and and yeah, find that source. And just on a side note, I did a casting for He-Man. I remember there was it was
Yeah.
a year, but I did a casting for He-Man and had to do that standard pair of shorts, shirtless, and scream at the top of my lungs. Oh yeah, power of Grayskull.
I have the power.
I
Yay.
didn't get the job, unfortunately. So what would you say? It's funny because you probably call this pathway to healing. I have a thing called pathway to health, but it's very interesting. Pathway. I like pathways. I think
Better
there's
than
something
pathway
very
to hell, I
important.
tell you
There's
that.
something very important about pathways. I
Mm.
think just in understanding your pathway to healing or to whatever, there literally is a path. There is and everyone's path is uniquely different. I don't think you can blanket statement that there's a path for you as the same as everyone else. So there's no such thing as general. But what are the pathways to healing? Like what methods would you use to help someone get to that destination?
Well, first, my question is, where are you at physically, mentally, energetically, emotionally, and spiritually? So it's to just check in, right? Some of those areas, maybe you meditate every day, but you're not taking care of your physical health. So in a way, it's quite simple. It's just, where are you depleted, out of alignment, and excess, or maybe like with the bodybuilding, the fitness stuff. I know during that time I was like super excessive, putting all my energy and focus into going to the gym, but really neglecting myself energetically or emotionally or even spiritually. So that's the first sort of step, is where are we in excess? Where are we depleted? And then understanding, like for me, when I work with people, I feel that I'm just reminding them, as I feel you as well. You're asking that question, like, well, why, you know, why are you not doing this? You do know, of course, but we just need to be reminded. And so for me, I remind people, what does, feel like to feel good? What does health feel like? What color is it? Do you know when you're healthy? You probably know when you're unhealthy, right? You know when you're out of alignment. And it's to understand what being in alignment would feel like and look like.
Kind of like personal
Mm.
inventory, I think, like
Yeah.
person has to do personal inventory. And I think that's something that on a daily basis, it should be one of the first things that people do, is when they wake up, is to just, yeah, I can't preach this, but I just think it's such a beneficial thing, is just to have a gratitude for the fact that you did wake up, there's just so many
Yeah.
things that are left to accomplish, and just to do, to look at the things that you have that are good and great, and things that you can work on. And I mean, we have to take stock of where we're at right now. I mean, we have to be in the present wherever we want to go. I mean, it's got to come from a focal point of where we are right now. So, I mean, that, in my opinion, that is the path. The path for you, is what it is. Like you said, what you need, but also where are you right now? What's the situation? And,
Exactly. That's your starting point. I always say, like, even with healing, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You're not going to open the door to your closet and everything's going to fall out. It doesn't work that way. Your nervous system will not allow you to like deal with or process everything all at one time. So we just meet ourselves where we are. physically, if you're going to be working out, you're, as ambitious as you are, you're not going to go do 3 sessions in a day. Like you have to start. Maybe it's only, from rehabbing your body, maybe getting out of the chair is the first step, right?
Process.
Maybe.
And I remember a client I had a long time ago, and she came and said to me, "Listen, I'm getting married, and I was wondering what you think. Should I tell my husband to be that I have had an eating disorder?" And I said, "Oh, I didn't know. I trained her for a show. She won her show. I had no idea." And I
Yeah.
said, "How long have you had this for?" She said, "Over 10 years." I said, "Wow." I said, "Yeah, it's probably a very good idea that you express this to him, and also be very aware of the fact that just because you express it doesn't mean it's going to go over tomorrow either. I mean, this is a process. Once you, especially when you just start to accept the fact that you have a challenge that you've got to face, it's not something that you're going to fix in a day or a week or a month. This can take you years and years and years. So, I mean, waking up to some of these things, it doesn't, just because you acknowledge it or know where you're at doesn't mean that the journey is short just because you've come to that, understanding. It's the work
Mhm.
that comes now, the work that you do, the time that you invest in yourself, I think that's going to make the big difference, you know?
Mhm.
Um, so Phuket, I've been looking a lot at Phuket lately. So,
Yeah. It
um,
has the best of everything.
yeah.
Everything.
Yeah,
Uh-huh,
listen.
uh-huh.
I say it often, to be honest with you. If I was independently wealthy right now, the first thing I'd be doing is buying an island in Phuket, or in Thailand, I should say, and living off the grid as much as I possibly can. What does health and wellness look like in Phuket? Because I think it's probably like in Malta, health and wellness is completely backwards as far as what it's like in North America or Canada. They're just 20, 30 years behind. That's how I see it. The awareness,
Oh,
the mentality. But in Phuket, what's it like?
So Phuket really is the hub and the central destination in Thailand for health and wellness. I have never seen so many gyms in one place in my life. There's one street, which is where I first started working and back in the day, and that's a whole story in itself for a whole other podcast. But um, I was the first female instructor at this mixed martial arts camp called Tiger Muay Thai. And at that time, there was no other gyms on the street. Now there's probably, and I am not exaggerating, I could list off 10 gyms right now on the one street. So it's like the Las Vegas Strip. And because of Tiger Muay Thai initially being on that street for mixed martial arts, jujitsu, boxing, CrossFit, yoga, like there was everything there. Then each one of those martial arts, fitness, yoga um, businesses started to open up next door and expand, and then more and more competition, and then restaurants and massage places, sports rehab. Like there's everything you could possibly imagine. I think they've got like float tanks there now. They've got hot yoga, aerial yoga, um, supplement shops, everything that a bodybuilder needs all in one place on one street. And that's kind of how it started, and but then it expanded, and so now I live about 20 minutes from that street near to the beach, and I like where I live because of that street is kind of in the middle of the island, well, more towards the south, but I live right in the south, and now in the south it's kind of like a town in Hawaii where you've got, again, every other corner you see a gym and massage places and healthy food, vegan, um, places that do food prep and have all the macros. Like this place is made for bodybuilders, fitness enthusiasts.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that
Mhm.
because you mentioned bodybuilders, and for me, that's
Yeah.
awesome. But I think Dennis James made Thailand pretty big back when he was training in Thailand a lot. That's when it came on the map for me. But it's not just for bodybuilders, I'm sure, because I think that like this would be just for anyone. Would you suggest this for someone who's just looking for not a getaway, a retreat, someone just a
Yeah.
normal, businessman who needs to de-stress and bring things down and put his life, center his life? I mean, it
Oh
can't be.
yeah, and my friends already came here, and we put together a whole documentary for Netflix, which they said yes to because you get stockbrokers, you get housewives. I mean, every kind of person from every country, every walk of life, and there is something for everyone. Somebody just messaged me today interested in water fasting. There's detox programs. There's the best DJs and beach clubs. There's sound healing. There's whatever it is you're into, boating, diving, skydiving. Um, Phuket is so close to so many islands that if you're even on vacation, you come here, you get a hotel, but then you want to go do day trips. There are just a zillion different islands that you can go to with caves and mountains, and it's really heaven. It's just so beautiful. And it does rain here. It's never cold, but it does rain. It rains a lot. It rains hard, but it's always warm. And the other day I was on a birthday party boat trip and there was two massive rainbows and it was like far out. Like it's a very special place. And so at the end of the day, right, if we only have so many days, how do we want to live it? I don't want to be in a cold, dark country where I feel like I literally have arthritis, right? My skin, my hair, my nails. These are the questions that I ask myself and also working with clients. Like, where do you feel the most calm? You know, some people love being in the cold in the mountains. They want to bundle up. Like they love that. Well, go live in the mountains. Like do yourself a favor. You know, if you don't like the cold and the rain and you're on antidepressants, like find a way to go be somewhere warm where you feel like your best self.
Is it affordable? I mean, is it something that, you know, is this for the elite or is this for?
It's a good question. It's really changed a lot. What I still love is that if you want to save money, there are still places where you can buy a meal for $4. And that's why probably, you know, for bodybuilding, like you could get a steamed chicken breast and rice for actually less than that, for probably $2, you know? Whereas I find, and I just found being back in Canada, there's no way to budget there. Everything across the board is expensive. A friend of mine was telling me they paid $16 for a box of Ritz crackers. Like, you know, so if you wanted, you could eat for a couple of days on that here. However, things have also really gone up in price here because so many people have moved here and it's exploding with real estate. So if you want to live the fancy high life and luxury, you can have that for still cheaper than in any other country. And if you know, want to spend your days training and on the beach and eat for, you know, $3 a meal, you can. You absolutely can.
Sounds like a place I want to be.
Yes.
You have any events and retreats that you want to talk about? Something coming
Yeah,
up?
so I've just got back here. So I've just started teaching. There's a beautiful gym here called Action Point, which has just been renovated, and they have a beautiful new studio. I also work with a health and wellness detox center for cleansing, so not a rehab, but we have juice fasting programs, raw food, colonics or kalimas twice a day. There are multiple new gyms opening also that I work with. So I'm not just in one facility, and that's why it's really exciting. I'm doing more private bookings right now where clients can come and I put their program together. So if they want to have fitness, yoga, detox, you can really have it all. And my recommendation really for people coming to is that they don't, if they want to come for 1 month, 2 months, that they don't just book ahead of time and prepay for everything because there's so much to see and explore. I love to give advice. You know, you can stay 1 week on this side of the island. This is where you eat. This is where you should go. And then come over to the, you know, the south if you're in the north and get to experience it at all. Because like I said, there's so many different gyms too, right? Why buy a full month membership and program? And a lot of people do this and then they end up losing money because they buy a package online, all inclusive. And then they get there and they're like, oh, there's a gym literally next door and I like it better. Or I came for, you know, martial arts, but now I want to do yoga or yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Um, yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's uh it's uh it's it's on my list. I mean, we've discussed this already now, so it's
It's
on
not
my,
if, it's when.
yeah, it's
But I
about,
say that to anyone too, like, you know, what's important to you? What's most meaningful? What do you want to experience?
Well, for me, like, and we've discussed this already. I mean, for me, you know, going back to sort of what you said earlier, like, we have one life, and the chance of being here in this life is like one out of like whatever trillion or million or whatever, like, but death is certain, so what you do with that time. And so right now I feel like, personally speaking, I'm sort of just spinning my wheels in a place where, maybe what I'm doing, um, is not as appreciated anymore as it used to be. I think just because there's just such an influx of people jumping on the bandwagon, just trying to, um, make money, like, which is unfortunate because this is like, to me, there's nothing more, important or valued than your health, your wellness, your spiritual health, your psychological health. All those things are just so, they these should be incorruptible. Yet when there's money, it's like it's irrelevant. Like, someone's peace of mind is irrelevant to someone who wants to make money off of it. And I find that, sort of deplorable, that you could take advantage of people who are, putting their hands up. They want their life saved, and they need help and real support, real genuine empathy, relatability, and care. And then there are people who are just willing to look at that and say, yeah, great. Okay, so I just need the money, and just, pushing buttons on an ATM machine. And that's what I feel like is happening here in the country I'm living in, because it wasn't.
Well, we outgrow countries, right? And
Yeah.
places and people and things, and it served a time and a purpose. And
You
I mean,
said something
that's
the other
what I
day.
left too.
Yeah.
Mm.
You said something the other day. If you want to change, you have to make a change, right?
Oh, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah,
You're going
that's
to
it.
be in the same place, and that's one of my fears is I don't want to be in the same cycle, in the same drama, in the same behaviors a year from now. Like, and I know this is a big part of coaching of like, hey, if you want something, take a step towards it.
Yeah.
Affirmation without action is delusional. I thought that was brilliant when I heard that. I can write down in the gratitude journal all I want, but unless I take action to bring that to life, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
I took a risk in coming here. I didn't know a single person. I had $15,000 in the bank. I had no job, nothing. I was like, I wasn't coming to party. It wasn't like, oh, I want to go on a wild vacation. I was like, I am not happy in my life. To everyone else, I have a good body. I'm a sponsored athlete. Like I could have a six-figure income if I just stay on this path. And people thought I was crazy. And but inside of my heart, after losing people so quickly, I thought I rather risk it all and take this giant leap of faith, knowing that there is something better out there for me than continuing down this path of what looks like health and wellness and feeling so out of alignment. And so
Absolutely.
when you say like, what is health and wellness? It's very different to a lot of people. Some people will think that because they got in great shape, they have achieved health or wellness, but I know I was like at my best, I was also at my worst.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have to take the risk.
Absolutely. That's called courage.
Mm.
So you said that I brought this up in the beginning in your bio. You talk about conscious movement therapy.
Mm.
Conscious movement therapy. If I think about it, then I think I'll
It's
understand.
confusing.
No, I don't think so. Not really. No, not really. But maybe for some it is. But
Yeah.
just explain it.
And so I have actually reworded that. If you go to my website, it says detox massage now, which is more relatable. What we're doing, we're detoxing physically, emotionally, energetically. The word conscious movement therapy is because it is a form of therapy. We're doing really deep breath work with movement, and it's releasing trauma, it's releasing stress, it's creating space for new feelings to come in. So it's this beautiful form of therapy through movement. I do Thai massage. I'm doing 6 different modalities in a 2-hour session, moving the body. And my clients are conscious, they're aware, and yet at different times they may leave their body altogether. So both a state of conscious release flushing, clearing, emptying out. I mean, we're working together. I'm not actually doing the work. I feel I'm just holding space. I'm a space holder, and I create a safe space so that through movement and breathing, people can do their own work. But it's like sometimes you literally need someone to hold your hand, just like a personal trainer. You might know how to do the exercise, you can go through the routine, but you want that person there to spot you, to encourage you, and to say, like, you've got this, keep going.
Mhm. And is this something that once you've put them through this, that they're able to manifest on their own self? Like, can they do this by themselves later, or no? Because this is like massage. So
Yeah, what I
there's
do is very
manipulation in here.
unique. So what I do is hands-on. It's very physical. It's very unique. I don't know anyone else who does exactly what I do. Otherwise, I'd hire them to do it on me.
Mhm.
However, the modalities within themselves are all practices, and I give people tools by introducing them to these individual modalities, EFT, the tapping, reprogramming the mind, doing breathing techniques and exercises, doing yoga, doing really deep, like gua sha and toxin are two of the specifically detox massage treatments where you scrape the skin and you pull the blockages out. Chine thing is a standalone treatment that I do, but I incorporated it in with my therapy where you massage the organs
Mhm.
because that gets all knotted up and then your chi literally gets blocked. So you're not thinking clearly. You have digestion issues, bowel issues, and that can be caused by stress, by anxiety. We're, clenched up. So thing is one of the most powerful emotional release and physical release sessions that I offer and really encourage people to try.
Interesting, because I'm remembering back now a few things. I think some of those were being executed on me without ever knowing what they were. And this was like 20 something years ago. I remember I met a photographer. His name was Van Hai. He's from Vietnam. And they have a practice there where they take a spoon and they scrape your skin with this spoon. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Guasha.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
You can
And I
use
had,
anything,
and he did that
Yeah.
for me. And it was like, well, if you get into the feeling of the spoon scraping your skin, you're like, at first it's like, okay, this doesn't feel so good. But then you're supposed to sort of transcend a little bit in a different space. And it offers this sort of, like you said, sort of like a detox, I think, if I understood it correctly at that time. And the other
Yeah.
one that I used to do, and I had no idea about it, but you mentioned it, and I'm kind of curious now, is that I used to always want to be tapped right here
Yes.
rhythmically, and it would knock
Yeah.
me out within like 2 to 3 minutes. So I'd be sleeping
Yeah.
within 2 to 3 minutes. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I don't. I'm not, obviously, this is not my expertise at all, but I just remembered just that. And you said the tapping, and I'm wondering
Yeah.
what is that?
Our face is like the feet with these reflexology points, and it's tapping into meridian lines and energy points, and that's the third eye right there. There's a beautiful treatment, and now I'm going to recommend you try it. It's called Shirodara, and this comes from India. And you lay on a table, and they drip oil onto your third eye just repeatedly. And my goodness, after laying there for a few minutes, you couldn't think if you wanted to that it's this warm oil and it's just tapping there and it's just dripping. It's like empties your mind out. And that's part of an even more powerful 21-day cleansing that they do in India called Panchakarma. And you do enemas, you do massage twice a day, and you do this Shirodara. And that really helps people that are going through a lot of trauma. They even do it on children that are in the middle of a divorce and have that anxiety and battle of emotions between separation and loss. And so all of these modalities, nothing is new. You see these bowls behind me. I'm so fascinated by vibration, by tapping, moving, shaking. And now also I'm working with these bowls, the vibration, the sound, just like music. You hear a sad song and all of a sudden it gets you and you're like, it's the tone and the frequency. I have a bowl. It's not one of these ones, but I've started doing vibrational therapy. The bowl goes on the body. And if you have injury, it's the sound will go through your body and it finds where the blockages is. It's just phenomenal. So that's another tool and treatment that people can do, whether it's to hear the sound, to feel the sound, to experience it physically.
I gotta get there. Um,
Yeah, you just have to get here and then
yeah,
you
I
have
gotta
it
get there.
all.
Just
Yeah.
just off the track for half a second. I mean, there's a lot of talk lately about going to South America and doing ayahuasca and people doing these retreats.
Mm.
How does that
Mm.
relate to,
Oh boy. I have a lot to say about that.
oh, you
Yeah.
don't like it?
Oh, no. Finish your
Oh,
question.
no,
Ask your question.
I mean, I've looked at it. A couple examples. Like, I mean, obviously testimonies, when people talk about these types of things, like I'm always on a quest to sort of, I don't want to say be enlightened because I think it just in my own, I mean, I want to be enlightened. When I think of enlightenment, I think of a Buddhist monk somewhere floating off the ground like 12 inches and just completely like, in the Tibetan mountain.
Monastery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, Mike Tyson is one who swears by ayahuasca, and you just have to be around and watch Mike Tyson for the last 30 years of his life or more, and just see the sort of the anger that that guy had and the in him, to see how he's kind of come around to this sort of Zen type of guy. And he talked a lot about ayahuasca, and so have others. And I've known many people who've done these experiences who go in sort of like from an atheistic point of view when it comes to God, and swear that when they came out of it, they saw God and their life has changed. So I don't know if that has anything to do or even in the same vein as what you're doing, but ultimately is it the same? Are you trying to release that from somebody? Are you trying to release that spiritual blockage so that they're more in touch? Or how does it, what do you think of that?
Oh, I think a lot, and there's a lot of different things that I have to say about it. So, I think that the medicine is very powerful, and I really respect plant medicine. And I've worked with many different types, including ayahuasca. I think it's very powerful. I feel that if someone is becoming curious about exploring it, they're either going to get a hard yes or a hard no. It's not something you kind of, I'm not sure. Either you're ready or you're not.
Mhm.
And you need to respect that as well. You might not be ready in one moment. And then the next time that it's in, you're invited to try it, you'll just say yes, like, let's do this. However, I after a lot of experience training and working in group environments, I feel it's really irresponsible to go into deep ceremony work with a large group of people that you don't know. For one thing, I think it's better done. It's a very intimate, personal, deep dive into the self. And so you're making yourself very vulnerable. If, these days, lots of people are calling themselves shamans, and they're not truly, they didn't live in Peru and grow up in a tribe, like if it took a weekend course on Instagram, be a shaman, like you need somebody who can properly hold space. And so I find it a little bit dangerous. Um, Individuals are just joining random, going on some ayahuasca thing. And second, if they don't have a physical practice first, you're taking a medicine like any hallucinogenic that will take you out of your body, potentially could. If your body is not a safe place for you, if you don't have a connection to it, or like we said before, a pathway to come back in, well, you might decide that your body doesn't feel safe, so you don't want to, or that this place that you found out there is much better. And I think potentially you could then, go into a psychosis and leave your body altogether.
Yeah.
So, yes, I work with people that want to do medicine as a foundational point to start from. I think do body work first, right? Learn how to calm your nervous system, learn to do breath work, learn what feels safe and how to, even physically what you need in order to feel anchored and safe, so that if you're going to go on a journey and you're really ready to go that deep and that's the next level, you're prepared for that journey. Otherwise it's like taking a trip to Alaska and forgetting to pack anything, and you're there with your flip-flops and your shorts. Like,
Yeah, I
really.
guess I guess in some respects it's like the difference between being an amateur and a pro. You've got to build up to it. You've got to be prepared.
Prepare yourself
Be
properly.
prepared.
Yeah. And it means like know who you're going to be in there with.
Yeah.
And, otherwise I would say, and that's why people ask me, do I do my stuff as a group? No, I don't, because I'm holding space when people go into their most vulnerable, intimate, painful places.
Yeah.
And if you have somebody next to you screaming while you're in a place of releasing trauma, that could shut you down right there. And so I'm not knocking people that do it with, maybe it's coming across that way. Just again, I would say it's important that you understand what safety would look like for you, so that if you're going to go on that trip, I mean, it's just like a trip, literally. Who do you want your travel companions to be? Or do you really want to go on a trip to the moon and with a bunch of strangers, you
Yeah.
know?
Get it.
Yeah. Like know your people, know your guides, know yourself, know what you need.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think what you said is, I think the most important thing you said, especially for me, because it relates well to the way I think, and that is just that um, it's a personal journey. Even when I work with people, I've never done group fitness classes. I will do group consultations or seminars, but I'll try to keep them smaller because I want them to be more personal. But the best ones are one-on-one. I think it's important that the person that is seeking to find their best self, if someone's standing in front of you saying, "Listen, I want support or help," whatever that is, I feel that it is in their best interest that they have 100% my attention, so that my focus is on them, that I'm able to not just hear what they're saying, but hear what they're not saying, to be able to offer, relatability and understanding. And you can't really do that if your attention is being diversified between a bunch of other different people. So I think you do lose connection. So yeah, I mean, it makes sense what you're saying. And yeah, I guess if I wanted to do something like that, I would. I mean, I've always wanted to do it. I have looked into it. I've always wanted to do it. And I just, actually, what you said, I didn't like, which is that group thing, because I know someone that went through it. And as you said, there was someone beside her throwing up everywhere and whatever, and it just threw them right out of where they were at. So it's not really, but
And it's also beautiful. And I do have to say that I feel, again, just it's like it just cuts all of the stories out. And it's like, here, you want to see it? Like, if you really want to see what's going on and you're ready, like you can be shown,
yeah, all
but
the,
most people aren't ready. So,
yeah,
yeah.
this stuff is so fascinating for me. I just, I mean, that's why I wanted to have you on here. And like I'm not sure, like, if everyone gets to this point in their life where they're trying to find all the answers. I don't know. Like, I mean, I've met people that don't think about really anything. They have this mindset that ignorance is bliss. And they walk around and you
Which
think,
is true.
yeah, it is true. Yeah, no, but they're walking
Yeah.
around
What
and
you
it's
don't
like,
know won't hurt you.
yeah, that's it, exactly. It's true. And
Yeah.
and I didn't get put, I wasn't on that path. Let's put it that way. I didn't get a chance to be on that path. I was put
Yeah.
into like
Same,
awareness
same.
real quick. I had to grow up really, really quickly. And I didn't have a
Yeah.
choice of whether or not I wanted to disassociate or not. I guess I could have chosen alcohol or drugs or
Course,
whatever.
yeah, we could have been drug addicts. Instead,
Yeah.
we became professional athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I tried to channel what it is that I was feeling. And I wanted to channel whatever power that I had. And I wanted to see what it was. But I've always been interested in it. And I've always wanted to, as I said, I guess what I want for other people, and I think the same for you, is I want to maximize my time here. I want to know as much as I can know, feel as much as I can feel, experience as much as I can experience, take it all in, the good, obviously, what I want, and that comes with the other side of that. I guess that's the ultimate balance that we need to seek in our life. And that's something that, without a doubt, a battery has positive and negative. Without both leads, there's no power. So I feel, but like talking to you about these things, it's really like, this will be one of my best, or favorite podcasts, because it's just, I find it so empowering.
Thank you. I want to just give you two words that came up today, in regards to that, right? It's like feeling everything. And I think it's so important that we practice observing, not absorbing, right? That
Yeah.
we don't need to absorb everyone
Yeah.
else's pain or worry or what's going on in the world or your best friend or your lover. It's like be in a state of observation without absorbing everything. It's
Yeah.
like we can learn how to respond versus just reacting. And it's
Yeah.
like some stuff's not your stuff.
I kind of, my word for that is discernment. Is just to know, to be so heads up and so self-aware of yourself and what you want and who you are, where your meters are, those alarm bells that are set, so that you can see what's coming your way. It's better to see life, you know, walking into life rather than having to look back as it's flashing past you. So
Mm.
just to be able to see what's coming and discern the difference between if this is something that you should allow in, or that you just need to step aside and allow it to pass you by. And
Well, unless you see all the red flags and you think it's the circus and a festival and you walk right into it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that happens too.
yeah, I'm sure. Why is self-care important for healers and practitioners?
Because you can't give what you don't have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like it's energy work, right? Healing.
Yeah.
And yeah, exactly that. You have to have this love, light, enthusiasm, creativity. You have to have that yourself in order to share that with others. Otherwise, you are depleted, and
Yeah.
that's how you get sick and run down. Mm.
You got to be. That's authenticity. I think, like, I've known you for such a long time, and I've always said this to you. I can remember conversations now, way back. I remember a conversation. You're going to say, "What?" We were
Yeah,
having,
probably.
sitting
I don't remember
outside
10
on the.
minutes ago.
Yeah, no, no, yeah. Oh, well, listen, I don't have a good memory, but I remember some of these things. I had a conversation with you outside of Body Medics on the sidewalk. We were doing body fat testing, and I was just talking about just like the way you operate. You're so you're so authentic. You're so real. Uh, I don't know a fake bone in your body, and I've always been proud to know you and to be associated with you and near you. That's why I always wanted you in my business, when we were doing that stuff back then. Um, because it's just like you have this light around you, you have this aura, and it's magnetizing. And, I tell people about you, even if I haven't spoken to you for years, your name will have been mentioned in my life about you many, many times, because of just the impact that you made in my life, because you're so authentic, because you're so real. And I really wish, I wish that people can experience that, on a greater level from what it is that you're doing. I wish that everyone had a chance to have, to be around people like you in life. It would make,
Mm.
um, at least one person like you in their life, because it would make life a whole lot better, I think. Just
Thank you.
if only to know that there is such a thing. So that's that. Um, what um, what have you learned from, working with trauma survivors? Because I'm sure that people are coming to you with trauma. And what's the takeaway? What are you getting from them?
Oh, well, I mean, I just spent a month in Canada. I wouldn't miss, I mean, everyone's a trauma survivor. Everyone has lost someone that they love. They've, been embarrassed publicly, maybe, or at school, or left out of the group. Nothing's trivial. That's one thing. A big loss, like there could be a death, and that doesn't affect someone as much as their friend not inviting them to a birthday. Like that could be a traumatic thing that leaves an imprint. And I just saw, you know, 25 different people when I was in Canada, and I so enjoyed having the time to connect, to have real talk, and it made me feel so full inside. And I had a bit of withdrawal actually when I came back to Asia because I know less people here. And that is so fulfilling to me to have those deep conversations, to be checking in and asking, like, what's come up for you? What's frightening you? What is keeping you blocked? What are you afraid of? Um, so it's taught me how important that connection is. And that, for me, I don't do small talk. I get very uncomfortable in big social settings where I just, because I read between the lines, I feel the energy. I'm like, oh, this is awkward, like I rather talk about the worst thing that ever happened to someone and how they overcame it. I like people that have had colorful lives because those are the wisdom holders. That's like amazing that somebody almost died 5 times and they're still alive. And, maybe you went to the other side and came back. So, um, yeah, that the word warrior, like that, a warrior to me is someone who has the courage to go into their deepest, darkest places and and come out the other side.
Um, well, I said we're getting to the end of this, but I guess you've already sort of said this, but maybe punch it up and, give the listeners, I guess, the big pitch on what makes Thailand special and unique for, their goals when it comes to whether that's finding themselves, establishing health, this holistic approach. Like, why come? Why come there? Why look you up? Why come to you? Like, what can you what do you tell someone to encourage them to make that journey?
Well, I don't think I actually need to push anyone because it's a
You wouldn't have to
beautiful
push
place,
me.
right? Yeah, it's a beautiful place. I'd have to push someone that loves to be in the cold in the mountains, but this is a very feminine country. It's nurturing, it's nourishing, it's loving, it's supportive. So if you're wanting support with, physical ailment and it's affordable, right? It's cheaper to get a massage here than it is to go to a bar and get a drink in Europe or Canada, right? Like literally. And so you can do the self-care and self-healing and not break the bank. And there are all of the elements, the earth, the wind, the fire. You're getting the vitamin D, the sun. It is so unbelievably lush. I mean, it's getting dark out, but like just outside my window, like the palm trees and the green and the abundance. And for people that are living in the city, in the cold, the dark, the wet, and in concrete and living in buildings, right? They're deprived. So there's just this nurturing and nourishing here. And it's a beautiful place to reset, to realign, and to really feel like your most vibrant self. We don't really need to sell
Yeah,
anyone on anything.
yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
I mean, some people, some people
Yeah.
want to know. Um,
And even with that, I don't sell my service because it's in a way it's like medicine. It's moving medicine is what we're doing. And so with the type of work that I do, someone really has to be ready and wanting to shift,
yeah.
right? And they have to have faith and be willing to allow themselves to be supported. So that's the big piece is, are you willing to let someone hold your hand and be responsible for you?
So how can someone find you? Like what can they do now? If someone after seeing this, maybe they're going to go anyway. Maybe that's on their destination or their bucket list. They want to go to Thailand, and they like everything that you're saying, and I would most definitely suggest anyone who goes to Thailand to check out Ocean. How would they go about doing that? What can
Ocean Bloom is my website, my Instagram, Facebook. There are many different Ocean Blooms out there, actually. One of them wrote a book. I don't know if I shared that with you. Someone with the name Ocean Bloom wrote a book, and it's not me. I'm Ocean Bloom Phuket,
Okay.
and
All
yeah,
right. And well, we'll put you
oceanbloom.com.
can definitely provide links and stuff like that, and we'll put it in the description below, and so people can reach out to you and stuff like that. And you would explain, I guess, if they contact you, you can explain how all the how to and the connection, stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah,
All
buy the
right. Well,
ticket,
if
show
I
up.
if I gave you the last word before I send us off, what is it that you would want to share?
Just for people to meet themselves where they're at. And that, I guess, really the big thing too is if something doesn't feel right, it's probably not, whether that's the people, the place, or the things.
Okay.
With the right people, your nervous system will feel calm and the conversation will be easy.
Wonderful. Well, listen,
Mm.
again, it was, I'm glad to do this. It was awesome to have you on. I hope that, we get to people to see this and to connect with you. And as I said, I'll put your links in the description below. And personally speaking, myself, I will find a way to get there because it's, as I said, I need a
It's
change.
time.
I need a
Mhm.
change, and I feel it. I can. I feel sort of like I feel like the San Andreas fault is shifting inside of me right now, and the West Coast is going to fall off soon. So like I feel a lot of
Mhm.
friction going on, and it's because I'm here, and
Mhm.
I'm like I told you before, I'm spinning, so and slipping and sliding, and nothing's really going anywhere. So you don't be surprised if you find me on your doorstep, wherever that would be.
No, I
Um,
expect it.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so I'm just going to say goodbye to everyone. So just hang on a second. So everyone, if you like the video, most definitely, I would definitely ask you to like and subscribe and share this. And if you are interested in finding out about Ocean Bloom Phuket, I will put her links in the description below. Um, in my opinion, there's nothing more important and valued than self. So, your strength and your mindset, your spiritual self, your physical self, nutritional self, your whole health and wellness. It's a holistic. I don't care what word you want to call it. It's just you find your best self and live your life to the fullest. And hopefully today's video will give you some sort of insight and help you on that journey. So until next time, we will see you again. Make sure to stay tuned and we will talk to you soon. Bye.